Hello. Saturday World News. Economic. First we'll look at the OECD 50 paper out. Recent weakness is expected to continue for the next 2 quarters in most major OECD economies. Projections for the United States stepping down but above zero. The euro area going negative in Q4 of 2011. That's just to set the scene. That's the OECD. We've had the IMF, the World Bank, Bank of International Settlements. Just about everybody is saying that everything is slowing down. Now, I don't believe that they can possibly know this and just accept it. There's an idea that central banks are just sick of shouldering the burden and they want to put the burden back onto the politicians. But when push comes to shove, they know that they've got a job to do, or think that they've got a job that is their job, and they will do it. From Forex Live we get possibility of a coordinated G7 intervention this weekend. Now this weekend might be pushing it, but what we're talking of is a Morgan Stanley paper out saying that something along the Plaza Accord lines might be done. Now from what I know of the Plaza Accord, it's a very incorrect way of describing what might happen. But the implication is that there is an agreement between the world central banks to ease even more, and however they can. They've been meeting among themselves, and they are going to try and make credit even easier around the world for everyone, to try and stop the world slipping into the next recession. Martin Wolf, link 3 in the Financial Times, back from his holiday and thinking, has been putting out some very thoughtful articles. The third, I think, is we must listen to what the bond market tells us, and it's easy to label him and dismiss him as a Keynesian fool. But what he says is just practical stuff. What we have here at the start of the article is what is to be done. To find an answer, listen to the markets. They are saying, borrow and spend, please. Yet those who profess faith in the magic of the markets are most determined to ignore the cry. The fiscal skies are falling, they insist. What we have here, and the graphic, the cartoon kind of points to it, that world politicians are shying away from borrowing and spending. I think there's a bit of a slip in Martin Wolf's second line there. Borrow and spend, really, to make this more acceptable, should have been borrow and invest. And this is the question, and Martin Wolf knows it well because he's written about it so much, that the last 30 years has been borrow and spend, not borrow and invest. So really he should be insisting that this time they get it right and do borrow and spend. No, not borrow and spend, but borrow and invest. But as the cartoon shows, the politicians are against it. Like, how will that speech from Obama go down when it gets discussed? Will they do the borrow and spending stroke borrow and investing, or will it get kicked out? Next, Edward Harrison, why a breakup of the Eurozone is likely. Now, I agree with this now. And in yellow highlighted the German Constitutional Court decision is critical, and I think it's critical from a step back from even what Edward says. Edward's kind of quoting Ambrose Evans Pritchard, quoting the Verfassungsreich decision to say careful with all these just promising German money to bail out hither and thither. But what at bottom line they did say is you can't just have open bailouts. You just can't do it. Constitutionally, you can't do it. And I don't put much store in that, as in if the politicians wanted to do it, they would. I know that particular court is very powerful in Germany, but if they wanted to, they could override it, or at least put it in a position, as they did this week, where if they made a wrong decision, it could break the euro apart. But what the politicians now have is an excuse not to do the bailouts. I don't think the opinion of the people of the north of Europe has been listened to enough by politicians over the last 3 years, but they're starting to get through to them. And that's another excuse. Politicians have looked to push this euro project and ignore any treaties like Lisbon, ignore any constitutional problems that courts might come up with, and ignore the people. They've pushed forward with this idea, but have frankly got absolutely nowhere. They've come up with no decent ways through the problems that they've got with the Eurozone. And I think now that they have totally realised that they've got nowhere, and they are getting nowhere. And the end is nowhere in sight. Not even the next step is in sight. So Germany can now use the Constitutional Court decision as an excuse to stick where it is, and the decision of the people to stick where they are. And other countries will sense this from Germany and will start sticking as well. And as I said, and as Edward says, it is absolutely integration or disintegration, and they are stopping the idea of integration. So the only other option is disintegration. The Eurozone will break up. You can notice it from articles flying around now where the politicians are getting much tougher on Greece and saying they should be kicked out of the Eurozone. This is obviously nonsense. It's just desperate. It's an idea, but it's just another of those ideas that I've been pointing out for months now, that this idea is an idea that they've put forward, but this idea cannot possibly work. And kicking Greece out is just another idea that cannot possibly work. For one, if you want, I don't want me to leave it there, just the egos of the politicians that for the last 3 years have been pushing forward with this Euro project idea and not saying we cannot do it, and saying we will do whatever we can to protect the euro, and in no way, shape or form is kicking Greece out to be trumped by saving the euro. To save the euro, to kick Greece out, doesn't work. It's even keeping the euro as it is structured now is even more important than saving the euro. It's not one doesn't trump the other. Or if one trumps the other, it's keeping the euro together, as the countries that are in it now trumps keeping the euro together. They would prefer to lose the euro than to lose Greece, in my opinion, because of fears of the unknown. When it came to Greece and defaulting, they went round wailing and screaming about Lehman. If Greece had to leave the Eurozone, they wouldn't have an expression that could express it. Lehman did it for the default on the Greek bonds, but there is no expression large enough and wailing and screaming and gnashing of teeth enough to explain or to try and describe what it would be like to have a member of the Eurozone leave the Eurozone. I'll finish with this. It's a comment on Mish's blog. Mish has been brilliant all through this last 4 years, but he is a right-wing monster when it comes down to solutions to everything. It just is interesting that you can be so sharp on some things, and well, who's for me to say that I'm right, that he's a monster? Maybe he's right about everything. But let's have this comment on Mish's blog, because it does leave us with an impression of everything and show us how ridiculously petty the small problems that I've described so far actually are. The best solution for this mess is eliminate jobs with much more sustainable technology. Replace the postal and communication workers with email, text messaging and Skype. Replace most of the retail workers with online sales and warehouse fulfillment. Replace the IRS with automated flat tax system. When you think about it, I mean, the tax systems are stupid, aren't they? Moronic. But replace the IRS with an automated flat tax system. It won't be done because it won't be done, but it would be the efficient, sensible thing to do. Tax systems across the world are voluminous monster mash madness. Replace most teachers, professors and school buildings with online education. Replace DVDs, CDs, bookstores, video stores with digital delivery of media. See, this is a mash of things that are sensible and not, but it gives us the idea. Replace newspapers, online news, and we could go on and on. Replace economists and analysts with actual EDI data. Replace banks with digital banking. So in the end, it's not more jobs that it's needed, it's less jobs, just like the tractor replaced over 90% of farmers. And soon as we get to the tractors replacing the 90% of farmers, that should just jolt us enough to see that what he's saying isn't all idiot stuff. The question is, what are we going to do with millions of people globally with no jobs? Pencil in billions. Maybe create a new school of economic thought to accommodate the advancement into a digital age and deal with zombulation in a positive, constructive and sustainable fashion to benefit the entire world. And we see from this that that has got to be the future. Not that we will design it that way, but naturally the future will be using less and less labour, because it's more expensive than replacing whatever we possibly can with digital stuff or machines. And how far are we close to accepting that in any way, shape or form? Nowhere near close. We are, as Obama was saying last night, demanding jobs, jobs, jobs for everybody, when jobs, jobs, jobs for everybody is absolutely the most inefficient way of doing things. All it is doing is keeping the population amused or entertained or out of the way doing something. It has no real rationale behind it at all. It's just politically convenient to keep the masses busy. But what is the chance of any quantum, in the modern use of the word, quantum leap forward by politicians to the acceptance of some brave new world? An acceptance that working is not the be-all and end-all, and there must be another way. It's nowhere near close, is it? So they will be striving and striving for something that is really totally ridiculous. Did I not have my... No. I'll put up this drawing that I did in Paint yesterday. Yeah, you'll have it now. Green line straight up and a whole load of red lines wiggling around like bones sticking out. I think this is a genius idea by me, but I can really in no way justify that expression that this is genius. I'll tell you what it is. It came to me when I was out riding my bike. The green line, no, let's go right to the bottom where there is a green line going up and a red line coming across to it. Let's say that we're at the bottom junction of those two lines meeting, the green and the red. And we're going to decide where to go. Now we can call the green line the low road, and the other one the high road. Low energy, let's call it low, the low energy road, and the high energy road. Let's employ everybody we can and use up as much energy as we can, red road, and the low one is this employing everybody and using up lots of energy is really ridiculous road. And then you can vaguely see what I'm trying to get at with this, that the people on the green road move slowly, casually, and hopefully happily forward, and in a certain amount of time will meet exactly the same as we're doing now at this junction, the red road, and they will come upon the people on the green road and go, which one of these roads is the high road? And the green one goes, hello, yes, that's this way. And a certain amount, probably most, go piling across again, taking the high energy road, and the low energy people just casually walk straight on again. So that's the basic idea, but I can't in any way more explain or justify this. All I can say is that I would like in some way that the over-the-peak people are the happy, casual, cool people on the green road. Leave that with you. Good rest of the weekend. Bye.